video is brought to you by Mubi and by patrons like you.
Watermelon.
Shut up. All right, everyone, new students, welcome to class. Now, I know you're all here for different reasons. Some of you just inherited your father's fortune and are planning to replace the love that you never felt from him with the adoration of strangers whom you'll come to loathe. And some of you just look like you're 12. But all of you are here because you're willing to pay me to help you get other people to pay you to repeat their ideas back at them while wearing a tie or being airy and hot or whatever. Now, can anyone tell me the first rule of being a right-wing political pundit? Yes, you. It's not a lie if you believe it. What? No, personal belief has nothing to do with it. I'm attracted to women. Will my audience ever know that? No. No, the first rule of being a right-wing political pundit is that it's not a lie if you never believed it in the first place.
Oh.
Jesus Christ, you'd all be David Rubens without me. All right, let's dive into our first case study. Ladies, hold on to your periods. This guy.
Our vice president, where's our vice president? Our vice president, there he is.
This guy.
This is the weakest romance I've ever seen.
This guy.
Much of the media in this country is not just fake, it's corrupt.
It kind of feels like a fever dream now, doesn't it? A reoccurring fever dream in which you're trapped in a room with the worst person you ever met in high school who was then picked to dictate your reality.
What the hell do you have to lose?
After Trump was pried from the White House with a crowbar, it did make me curious to go back in time to see where it all began. If you weren't born in the 90s or weren't sentient in the 2000s, then you may not remember that before Trump was this Trump, he was that Trump.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. Go.
Reality TV star of The Apprentice.
Settle down. Settle down.
Now, I didn't know if this would be an interesting video or not, but when I discovered that the show, The Apprentice, which ran from 2004 through 2015 for over a dozen seasons, was all but wiped off of the internet, almost like they didn't want us to remember it, I knew that, oh, this has got to be good. And by good, I mean bad. And truly, it did not disappoint.
Sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Watching this first season again now feels like such a flash in the pan.
I had stock options worth millions, but lost it all in the dot-com bust.
Before we really worked out the kinks of how to create riveting reality TV. Before the formula had been solidified. And before people really knew how to act when the cameras were rolling.
If you pull one over on me, I'm gonna 10 times you. I'm gonna do you by 10 times. And my mind works like that, and I'll be able to pull something off a lot better than they will.
The whole show has a feel of a blog.
We didn't answer the phone because we didn't hear the phone because we're ready to do whatever it takes to sell this thing and make a lot of money.
Rather than a primetime TV extravaganza.
My feet hurt. I mean, that's the thing I'm maddest about right now is my feet are killing me.
But what was most surprising about this time capsule is that Trump is exactly the same on this show as he would be years later as President of the United States of America. Exactly.
Okay, folks, I'm really busy today, so we're going to go quickly. I'm really busy today.
Exactly.
You have such a persecution complex.
Because we're all victims. Everybody here, all these thousands of people here tonight.
Exactly the same. Using vague buzzwords to make some kind of point that doesn't make any sense.
Who's the worst leader?
I would actually say Sam as well.
Is that because Sam is going over the edge? By doing what he did he go over the edge?
He went over the edge.
Being manipulated into feeling like he's the one that came up with an idea when it was clearly someone else's.
You backed up Kwame, but you didn't back up Sam.
So you're saying he was a selective leader?
I think he was a selective leader.
People tripping over themselves to appease him because they know he only cares about loyalty.
I'm gonna be the president of the Trump organization. I can't do it today. I can't do it today. You know what I'm doing right now? I'm like this. Today, I'm crawling. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be like this. And in a couple weeks, I'm gonna stand up there just like he does. And I'm gonna be promoted the president of his organization.
He was fired 2 episodes later. Blatantly sexually harassing every woman within his vicinity.
I can't have my son hear this. Years ago, I tried to pick up Brandy, and I failed. Okay? I don't even know if you remember. That was before I was Trump. Okay.
And of course, the tried and true obsessing over genetic superiority.
You don't believe in the genetic pool?
I've got genetic pool big time, Mr. Trump, just like you got from your father, Fred Trump, and your mother, Mary Trump.
All right, well, I hope you're right.
With me, I was born with principles, I was born with values, and more so I was born with genes.
I take solace in the fact that I have a higher IQ than the other 15 contestants.
I think I definitely have a leg up.
Why?
I just think the entrepreneurial blood that I have in my veins, I'm more versatile.
We really had it all, folks. I almost felt cheated, if I'm being honest. Trump has such main character syndrome that it was almost disappointing to see such an unchanging NPC caricature of himself.
You're making
You
the
have to
decision.
be careful.
You're making the decision.
No, I'm making the decision. That's true. Absolutely
You know
true.
what?
Not to mention the reoccurring characters that pop up around him, like Herschel Walker in The Celebrity Apprentice.
I don't know why Herschel Walker became project manager. I didn't have no vote in that one. I don't think he has any leadership skills as far as being the voice of command. He reminded me of a 15-year-old kid.
Or Omarosa.
Omarosa, I would never hire because she's very intelligent, but she's a space cadet.
You're emotionally unstable. That is like calling the kettle black. See, there you go with your racist terms. What was that you said about black people?
Or the soft launch of the Trump kids as legitimate business entities.
It's hard to get a bunch of women to all work together and not kill each other.
You can say that. If I say that, I get in trouble.
Right, you can.
I actually had somebody
One of the
tell
things
me
that started going on in there.
No, Andrew, you cut off Ivanka, but that's okay.
I didn't
No,
mean
his
to do
whole
that.
life has been about cutting off women, and that's okay.
So I've
Go
been
ahead,
told.
Andrew.
But while Trump may be a fantastic actor at playing himself, and only himself,
I've got to go. Bye.
watching this show really did reveal one of his greatest weaknesses: stakes. And not Trump stakes, dramatic stakes. Stakes are an incredibly important part of the craft of acting. While reading a script, you may know that you're supposed to be upset, but you may not know how upset to play the scene. On the scale of stubbed my toe to Chekhovian, this stubbed toe is actually a metaphor for my relationship with my father. And this is where stakes come in. A director may tell you to raise the stakes if the tension should be greater, or lower the stakes if you're coming off just a little too intense. And comparing the Trump that we know to the Trump that we knew, it becomes very clear. Trump has absolutely zero sense of what is at stake at any given moment. What do I mean by that? Well, take this interaction, for example, where the board members judge how well the contestants did when their assignment was to sell lemonade on the streets of New York City.
Sam did not step over that legal line. He did not break the rules.
You know what? That's important that you say that, because I sort of thought he did, and you were there, and you don't think he did?
Okay, pop quiz time. What law do you think they're talking about the contestants breaking? What legal line are they worried about crossing? Was it A, selling beverages on the street without a sales permit? B, serving without a health department permit? Or C, none of the above? It was gibberish that made no sense, because while they were actually out selling the lemonade, there was zero discussion of the legality of any of this, and it's literally impossible to figure out what the hell they're talking about. C, the answer is C. Obviously. And yet, Trump and the show pretends that this inane conversation is a very important part of being a boss.
That's important that you say that.
Flash forward to Trump's handling of the pandemic. I feel like if Trump had at least pretended that he understood the crisis to be a crisis, but still bungled the response, it would have been far less irritating than what he did, which was both pretend that it was not a crisis and also bungle the response. Here's Trump just kinda kicking around ideas about how to defeat the virus by rinsing out people's insides with hand sanitizer.
And then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute injection inside, or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. It sounds interesting to me. That's important that you say that.
To Trump, the stakes of breaking New York City Health Department guidelines and the stakes of losing millions of people from a deadly virus all become water cooler fodder. Presidents usually bring people into their cabinets to solve problems, or at least pretend to solve them. But to Trump, the best way for people to solve problems is to fight each other to the death.
Do I fire you or do I fire Tom?
And to the winner goes the spoils of getting to be the one to pretend to solve the problem. This might be where people got the idea of Trump being a 3D, 4D, 10D chess player. If you spend more time pitting people against each other for the opportunity to solve the problem, you never actually have to solve the problem. On The Apprentice, the entire show is predicated on the idea that this ultimate showdown will reveal the toughest candidates with the best gene pool.
In the boardroom, Christie didn't defend herself and was the first woman fired.
And he pretends to help by stoking the flames.
I guess the biggest problem I have with you picking Nick is he was the one guy that really defended you. So there's a little disloyalty there.
Toward the beginning of season 2, we get a very powerful example of Trump's true nature. Bradford, the project manager of the boys' team, wins immunity, meaning that he's exempt from being fired.
I'll be honest with you, I think that I performed up to my abilities on this task. I'd be willing to waive my exemption.
Bradford, I think it's stupid what you said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept it.
That's fine, Mr.
And
Trump.
you may get fired tonight.
That's fine.
Okay, good. I think you're the best one in the room.
Thank you.
Bradford hoped that putting himself on the chopping block would gain him even more respect from his teammates, that being the best in the room would protect him.
Bradford made an impulsive decision, a stupid, life-threatening decision that, frankly, if you were running a company and made that kind of a decision, you destroy that company instantaneously. Bradford, you're fired.
You can see that finding the best candidate is not the point of this conflict. The conflict is the point. After all, this is reality TV. As president, Trump took the exact same principles and applied it to his political career. I mean, just off the top of my head, there was the power struggle between Steve Bannon and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, then again with Kushner versus Chief of Staff John F. Kelly, or, every single time he just said it in his own words. Again, the point is not that this conflict will inherently help Jared Kushner bring peace to the Middle East. It's that this conflict keeps Trump at the center of all their attention. And if we all pretend that the conflict is inherently important to the issue, then it seems like Trump is always working on the issue without ever having to address or fix any of the issues.
Are you talking to me?
In both The Apprentice and the White House, the winner isn't determined by skill or qualifications. It's determined by who can suck up to Trump the best without looking weak.
Sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Selling lemonade is meaningless.
I certainly didn't think I was going back to 6th grade selling lemonade.
Who writes immigration policy is the difference between life and death. But to Trump, these stakes are the same. Because the only thing that's important during this debate is who is going to end up stroking his ego. One of the things that makes Trump such a successful, heavy air quotes, reality TV host is that he can create conflict where there is none. Any connoisseur of reality TV can tell you that to be a reality star, you have to be able to conjure conflict out of thin air. It keeps you at the center of attention, makes you the best friends of the producers who are salivating for it, and it cements you as a central character in a made-up story. A New York, if you will.
I was supposed to put them bitches in their place, and that's what I did 24/7.
And Trump is as good as the best. In this boardroom meeting, he brings everyone into a tangent, arguing about whether Jessica Simpson should be described as pretty or beautiful.
Did you think Jessica was very beautiful?
Well, she's a pretty girl.
Pretty or beautiful?
She's beautiful.
I thought she was beautiful. A beautiful girl. Okay. Jessica was beautiful.
Now, first and foremost, pretty and beautiful are synonyms, but more importantly, she is neither pretty nor beautiful. She is a world-class comedian.
Is this chicken what I have, or is this fish? I know it's tuna, but it says chicken by the sea.
And owner of a shoe empire. Show some respect. As president, while Trump was simultaneously making molehills out of mountains with things like the pandemic and violent attacks from the far right, he was also mining innocuous situations and turning them into systematic failures of the most cosmic proportions. Now, this was late in his presidency, where it took a lot to shock us, but this made a run for our money. Somehow, Trump was able to make conflict out of his own massive dumps, turning his shredded bowels into a system issue about water pressure or something.
People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. They end up using more water. So EPA is looking at that very strongly, at my suggestion.
Normally, this topic is something that you ask. Nay, beg your grandfather to please, for the love of all that has ever been holy, keep it to themselves. For you or I, sitting alone on the toilet is a private affair. Maybe you catch up on social media. Maybe you just sit back and relax. Maybe you dissociate. I don't know. But the one thing you probably don't do is start thinking about the ways that the Environmental Protection Agency really needs to intervene at this very moment so that your weird shits go down the tube easier. But not for our reality TV president. Nothing is sacred, not even his shits. Et tu, Brutus, is used in order to create conflict. One that affects him personally, slinging his shit, if you will, onto the American people against all of our collective will. Sometimes you remember something that happened during that time and you're like, I lived through that? This White House of Horrors brings me to my last point. It is true that Trump has been so sheltered, so catered to, and so coddled that any and all conflict is not a hurdle for him to overcome. It's merely entertainment. Everything from peace in the Middle East to his massive, steaming dumps.
I won't talk about the fact that people have to flush their toilet 15 times.
Because for Trump, the only real thing at stake at any given moment that he cares about is Trump. And once you know that, every one of his decisions makes sense. Like COVID becoming important after he gets sick. And as long as the people around him are playing along and groveling, then he's happy. Well, his version of happy. Which is just being mad, but at people he thinks are beneath him.
So I hope he remains loyal, and if he doesn't, let me know and I'll attack him.
All right, that's it for today. Remember to send me the $500 in the mail, okay? I know on the website it says we take Bitcoin, but that's more for appearances. I only accept cash or coupons to Chinkos. Next week, we'll be discussing how to pretend to have no money, and we'll have a women's breakout session where we'll go over signing NDAs, breaking NDAs, and finding your perfect shade of blonde hair dye. It's a lot harder than it looks. Speaking of stakes, a great movie doesn't need a Hollywood action scene to draw you in. And right now, you can watch Rebels of the Neon God from Tsai Ming Liang, one of the top directors of second new wave Taiwan cinema, on Mubi, the sponsor of today's video. It's a moody, beautifully shot film from 1992 that captures the alienation of youth in modern society. And when I watch it on Mubi, their great curation of hand-selected films means that I can explore more of his work. Plus documentaries like Flowers of Taipei, which looks at the beginnings of new Taiwanese cinema back in 1982. If you're tired of browsing through bloated streaming platforms, then Mubi is a streaming service that you have been waiting for. There's always something new and interesting to discover because they add a new film every day. And because it's actually curated, it's fun to browse and explore. And right now, you can get a whole month free if you use my code at mubi.com/mmfish. That's mubi.com/mmfish for a whole month of great cinema for free. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, it really helps the channel to hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit the bell icon to make sure that you don't miss my next one. An extra special thank you to everyone watching on Nebula and to my lovely patrons who help me make videos like this. If you sign up at patreon.com/Maggie Mae Fish, you can get your name in the credits along with these fine folks and other cool perks like an invite to our private Discord server. Looking for a gift for the film lover in your life? Or for yourself? Check out the movie notebook that I designed, available now. It's a great way to keep track of the movies that you've watched and the ones still on your list. You can find links to everything in the description box below. And as always, save our drama queen, Martha.
All right, guys, you've set the women's movement back about 70 years, right?